on doing what's right for students. Yesterday we had a really good and important conversation at the White House with local leaders and great teachers and parents. It was insightful and inspiring. And as Mrs. Pence noted, these past few months parents have worn multiple hats. They really are our unsung heroes. And I might add, as the Vice President noted, as are the teachers who were often playing dual roles as parents themselves and continuing to help their students learn. She also said, Mrs. Pence also said, that as we reopen businesses, restaurants, theaters in our country, we simply can't leave out our schools, and that is so correct. Students can and must continue to learn full-time. I've been really inspired by the innovative teachers, schools, and their communities that have kept learning going through this past few months, and they're getting ready to do it again this fall. A couple of great examples in Harlem and the surrounding boroughs in New York. Success Academy moved to distance learning in 1 week using multiple technology platforms. Teachers there insisted on learning new materials right along with their students. The students were still graded. They made sure all of the students had the needed tech that they did not maybe have at home initially. Miami-Dade County used existing instructional continuity plans to make a seamless transition to distance learning. They added interventions for students who were struggling already before the pandemic. The International Leadership Academy in Texas started from the mindset that not learning wasn't an option for any student. They delivered multilingual and special education curriculum to all of their students. There were a number of schools and districts across the country that did an awesome job of transitioning this spring. And there were a lot in which I and state school leaders were disappointed in that they didn't figure out how to continue to serve their students. Too many of them just gave up. The Center for Reinventing Public Education said that only 10% across the board provided any kind of real curriculum and instruction program. And as I said, I've talked to all of the state school chiefs at least once, most of them more than once, and they've told me that while many of their districts in their states have done well through the past several months, a number of them they were very disappointed in doing next to nothing. And then we see, as we talk about reopening schools, there are some creating false paradigms for the fall. And here, right in our neighborhood, the DC area, Fairfax County, which is one of the most well-funded, I would call it an elite public school system in America, offered families a so-called choice for this fall. Either 0 days in school for their students or 2 days. And their springtime attempt at distance learning was a disaster. But I give this as an example because things like this cannot happen again in the fall. It would fail America's students, and it would fail taxpayers who pay high taxes for their education. Ultimately, it's not a matter of if schools should reopen, it's simply a matter of how. They must fully open, and they must be fully operational. And how that happens is best left to education and community leaders. I really appreciate something that Secretary Azar reiterated yesterday at the White House. It's the Surgeon General's prescription for health care, and I'm going to repeat it again because it bears repeating. First, ask yourself, what's your individual circumstance? Are you or is someone in your home vulnerable? Second, what's going on in your community? Is the virus widespread or is it isolated? And third, think about the kind of school activity that you're thinking about how to accommodate and deal with. What needs to be in place for things to be successful? Education leaders need to examine real data for their own states and communities and weigh the risks. Local leaders in every community need to ask these questions and consider all the risks. Physical health and safety are factors. So is mental health. So is social-emotional development. And importantly, very importantly, so are lost opportunities for students, particularly the most vulnerable among us and students with disabilities. The American Academy of Pediatrics noted Keeping schools closed places children and adolescents at considerable risk of morbidity and, in some cases, mortality. The pediatrics guidance concluded that everyone should start with a goal of having students physically present in school. Fully open and fully operational means that students need a full school year or more, and it's expected it will look different depending on where you are. What's clear is that students and their families need more options. I've talked a long time about the need to rethink education and to expand education options for all students. This moment really demands action, and America always was and is and always will be a country of doers. We are confident that with grit and determination and a measure of grace, we can and will do what's right for all the students in our nation. Thanks very much.